20. Black actors you didn't know passed away. These are the black actors you didn't know had passed away. Artists who shaped film, television, and stage with brilliance that still echoes today. Let's get into this. Bill Cobbs, the timeless character actor. Bill Cobbs was proof that greatness doesn't have an age limit. Born in Cleveland in 1934, he lived an ordinary life for decades, working as a car salesman, radar technician, and Air Force serviceman. Acting wasn't even in the plan until his mid-30s. At 36, when most people are settling into routine, Bill stepped onto a small stage in New York and never looked back. His calm voice, gentle smile, and ability to make every character feel real quickly set him apart. He wasn't a Hollywood superstar, but his face became one everyone recognized. In The Bodyguard, he played Whitney Houston's father with quiet authority. In Night at the Museum, he was the wise night guard who understood history better than anyone. In The Hudsucker Proxy, his timing turned a few lines into unforgettable moments. Over 5 decades, he acted in more than 150 films and series, from Oz to I'll Fly Away, from Demolition Man to Get Low. Directors loved him for one reason: he never faked emotion. Cobbs brought the truth to every role, no matter the size. Even into his 80s, he kept working, performing with the same warmth that had defined his early years. When he passed away at 90, it wasn't just the end of a long career. It was the farewell of a man who quietly shaped American television and cinema. Sonia Eddy, the heart of General Hospital. Few performers ever find a role that becomes part of their identity. For Sonia Eddy, that role was Epiphany Johnson, the firm but kind head nurse of General Hospital. For 16 years, she was the anchor of that world, the woman who held everything together when others fell apart. Her tone could cut through chaos, yet her eyes always showed empathy. Before soap operas, Sonia's roots were in stage and comedy. She studied theater at UC Davis, built confidence through local productions, and moved into television with a mix of timing and warmth that few could match. Her big break on General Hospital turned her into a daytime icon. Fans wrote letters saying Epiphany helped them face hospital stays, surgeries, even grief. That connection between real hospitals and fictional ones defined her power. Off-screen, Sonia was known for her humor and generosity. She appeared in shows like ER, Seinfeld, and Fresh Off the Boat, often playing roles that mirrored her genuine compassion. In December 2022, a routine surgery took a tragic turn when an infection set in. She passed away at just 55. Her co-stars described her as the soul of the set, and her absence left a silence that television rarely feels. Max Julien, the legend of the Mac. Max Julien didn't just play characters, he created eras. His 1973 film, The Mac, didn't just make him a star, it redefined style for an entire generation. As Goldie, the smooth-talking hustler with a mind sharper than his wardrobe, Julien became the face of blaxploitation cinema. That gold-trimmed swagger, that controlled charisma, it inspired hip-hop artists, street fashion, and the language of cool that still echoes today. But Max was never limited to one box. Before the Mac, he was a classically trained actor, performing off-Broadway and writing plays that challenged racial stereotypes. He was also a sculptor and designer, a man who turned creativity into lifestyle. Even when fame faded, his influence never did. Hip-hop legends from Snoop Dogg to Too Hort referenced him as the original blueprint for confidence and style. In later years, he appeared in Def Jam's How to Be a Player, proving that age couldn't dull his charm. At 88, he passed away peacefully in Los Angeles, leaving behind not just films, but an aesthetic, a vision of Black power, independence, and elegance. For many, the Mac wasn't just entertainment, it was identity, and Max Julien was its architect. Or Stephen Twitch Boss, the man who danced through life. Stephen Twitch Boss lived in rhythm. From the moment he appeared on So You Think You Can Dance, audiences could feel that electricity, the energy that came from pure joy. Every move was precise, but never mechanical. It was the movement of someone who truly loved to make people happy. His talent carried him from dance competitions to movie sets and, eventually, to daytime television. As Ellen DeGeneres' DJ and co-host, Twitch wasn't just pressing buttons. He was the heartbeat of the show. Viewers tuned in for his smile, his freestyle sessions, his ability to make celebrities relax with a few dance steps. Off stage, he was a husband, a father, and a mentor to countless young dancers who saw in him what grace and kindness could look like. He appeared in Step Up Revolution, Magic Mike XXL, and several dance features, proving that charisma and work ethic could blend perfectly. But beneath the lighthearted persona, Twitch was fighting private battles. In December 2022, the news of his death by suicide shocked millions. It was a painful reminder that joy on the surface doesn't always mean peace inside. His legacy, though, continues to inspire, not through tragedy, but through the happiness he gave to others. 5. Sidney Poitier, the man who broke every barrier. Sidney Poitier was more than an actor. He was a turning point in film history. Born in the Bahamas and raised with little access to formal training, he came to America chasing opportunity. Early casting directors dismissed him for his accent and lack of polish. Instead of giving up, he listened to radio announcers for hours, studying how to reshape his voice. That discipline became the foundation of a career that would open doors for generations. In 1964, Poitier became the first black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor for Lilies of the Field. His calm, deliberate presence broke every stereotype that Hollywood had built about black actors. Movies like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, To Sir, With Love, and In the Heat of the Night weren't just entertainment. They were conversations about race, respect, and humanity. Off-screen, he carried the same composure. Poitier became a director, activist, and ambassador for equality, earning knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Even in his later years, he remained a symbol of elegance and integrity. When he passed away at 94 in January 2022, the world mourned not just a performer, but a man who taught Hollywood what dignity truly looks like. Jack Knight, the rising voice of comedy. Jack Knight's story was one of talent arriving too soon and leaving too early. In an era of loud comics chasing viral fame, Jack's humor stood out because it was honest. His jokes came from the real world. Race, mental health, family pressure, all delivered with that half smile that told you he'd lived what he was saying. Born in Seattle, he started in small clubs, performing for crowds that didn't always laugh, but always listened. His sharp mind took him from open mics to the writer's room of Blackish, where his wit shaped some of the show's best social commentary episodes. Netflix noticed. He joined Big Mouth not just as a writer, but as the voice of Devon, adding life to a character many fans still quote. His stand-up special First Appointment showed his signature rhythm: serious 1 second, hilarious the next, never fake. Colleagues described him as a comedian's comedian, someone whose timing and ideas made everyone around him better. But behind the laughter, he carried his own pain. In July 2022, at just 28, Jack died by suicide, stunning an industry that had only begun to see his brilliance. He left behind laughter that felt like truth, the kind that still echoes in every club he once walked into. John Beasley, the soul of supporting roles. John Beasley built his legacy not on fame, but on sincerity. He wasn't the actor you'd see on magazine covers, yet whenever he appeared on screen, everything felt more human. In Rudy, he played the Notre Dame groundskeeper who quietly believed in a boy chasing an impossible dream. In The Apostle, his few scenes opposite Robert Duvall carried a calm gravity that stayed with viewers long after the credits. He began acting in his mid-40s after working as a railroad employee in Omaha, proof that it's never too late to start living your purpose. His natural warmth turned supporting roles into emotional anchors. On the TV series Everwood, Beasley's Dr. Harold Abbott became the town's conscience, stern, fatherly, compassionate. Directors trusted him because he brought truth, not ego. Every gesture, Every pause came from life experience, not training. That made him one of Hollywood's most respected character actors. When he passed in May 2023 at 79, during routine hospital tests, tributes poured in from actors and students he had mentored at the John Beasley Theater and Workshop in Omaha. He never sought stardom. He sought connection. And that's what made his work unforgettable. Clarence Gilliard Jr., from villain to mentor. Clarence Gilliard Jr. lived 2 complete careers, one in Hollywood and one in the classroom. He first grabbed attention as Theo, the tech-savvy criminal in Die Hard, the man behind Hans Gruber's heist. He played the villain with a cool intelligence that made him stand out in a film full of action stars. A few years later, he completely reinvented himself on television as the loyal partner in Walker, Texas Ranger. Audiences loved the transformation from hacker to hero. Yet while fame came easily, satisfaction didn't. Gilliard stepped back from Hollywood in the early 2000s to teach film and theater at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Students remember him as exacting but kind, an instructor who demanded emotional honesty and respect for the craft. He often said that teaching gave him the fulfillment acting never fully did. Beyond Walker, he appeared in Top Gun as Sundown, proving his range across decades of genres. When he passed away in November 2022, former students and co-stars called him a performer who lived for purpose. Gilliard's journey from movie villain to real-life mentor showed that the truest legacy isn't fame, it's the lives you shape after the lights go out. Ricky Harris, the comedian. With street smarts, Ricky Harris made people laugh without ever softening the edges of where he came from. Raised in Long Beach, California, he brought street language and rhythm to mainstream comedy, long before it was fashionable. His early appearances on Def Comedy Jam caught attention, but it was television that made him unforgettable. As Malvo on Everybody Hates Chris, he turned a petty crook into one of sitcom's funniest recurring characters, part menace, part comic relief, always real. Harris blended timing with authenticity. He could make audiences roar 1 minute and reflect the next. Off-screen, he lent his voice to hip-hop albums by Snoop Dogg and Warren G, proving that comedy and music spoke the same language in his world. In Dope, 2015, he reminded critics that he could handle drama too, bringing depth to a film about identity and survival. Friends called him fearless, the guy who never forgot the people he started with, no matter how high he climbed. On December 26, 2016, at only 54, he suffered a fatal heart attack. His death shocked both the comedy and music communities. Ricky Harris left behind laughter rooted in truth, humor born from struggle, told with a grin that made everyone feel seen. Michael Kenneth Williams, the face of authenticity. Few actors ever reached the emotional honesty that defined Michael Kenneth Williams. A Brooklyn native, he turned a facial scar, the result of a fight that could have ended his career, into a trademark of strength. His breakthrough came as Omar Little in HBO's The Wire, a morally complex stick-up man who followed his own code. A man's gotta have a code. That line became legend, and so did he. Williams brought depth to every role. Chalky White in Boardwalk Empire, Freddy in The Night Of, and countless others that blurred the line between villain and hero. Tupac Shakur discovered him and gave him his first role in Bullet, 1996, sensing the intensity behind his quiet presence. Michael used that authenticity to redefine what television acting could be. Grounded, raw, and painfully human. Behind the acclaim, he fought private battles with addiction, speaking publicly about relapse and recovery. His openness made his death in September 2021 from an accidental overdose at 54 even more heartbreaking. Colleagues described him as the soul of The Wire, and fans still quote his lines like scripture. Michael Kenneth Williams left behind performances that felt alive long after the cameras stopped, proof that truth, even when painful, never fades. Richard Roundtree, the original action hero. Before superhero franchises and billion-dollar budgets, there was Richard Roundtree, the man who made cool look effortless. When Shaft hit theaters in 1971, audiences had never seen anything like it. A black private detective, walking tall, talking back, and winning every fight. Roundtree wasn't just acting, he was rewriting what Hollywood thought a hero could look like. Shaft became a phenomenon, turning a modest $500,000 budget into over $13 million at the box office. The theme song by Isaac Hayes won an Oscar, and Roundtree became the face of a cultural revolution. Beyond Shaft, he brought the same strength and presence to projects like Roots, Heroes, and Being Mary Jane. What set him apart wasn't just his confidence, but his authenticity. He played power without arrogance, compassion without weakness. For decades, he mentored younger black actors who saw him as proof that Hollywood's door could open. Even in his 70s, he kept working, refusing to fade into nostalgia. When pancreatic cancer claimed his life in October 2023, at age 81, tributes poured in from every corner of film and television. Richard Roundtree didn't just create a hero, he created a blueprint for everyone that came after. Nichelle Nichols, the woman who changed space. Nichelle Nichols didn't just change television, she changed the future. As Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, she stood on the bridge of the Enterprise in 1966, a black woman in authority. At a time when America was still fighting for basic civil rights, she wasn't a maid or a side character. She was a communications officer, confident, respected, and vital to the mission. When she considered leaving after the first season, a fan convinced her to stay. Not just any fan, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He told her she represented hope, that her presence on screen was changing how young black children saw themselves. Nichols stayed, and history followed. She went on to make television's first interracial kiss with William Shatner, defying network fears and Southern station boycotts. But her story didn't end with Star Trek. After the show, she worked with NASA, personally recruiting women and minorities for the space program. Astronauts like Sally Ride and Mae Jemison credited her for inspiring their careers. In July 2022, at 89, she passed away from heart failure, but her influence is permanent. Nichelle Nichols made science fiction feel real, proving that the stars belong to everyone. Mary Alice, the matriarch of stage and screen. Mary Alice built a legacy that transcended genres, decades, and mediums. She began on New York stages, where her quiet strength made audiences stop breathing just to hear her speak. That theater discipline carried into everything she did, from television hits like A Different World to her award-winning work in Fences. She won both a Tony and an Emmy, honors that only confirmed what her peers already knew. Mary Alice could carry an entire story with a single expression. Her presence on screen was commanding, yet gentle. When she replaced Gloria Foster as the Oracle in The Matrix Revolutions, it could have been a daunting task. Instead, she approached it with grace, continuing the character's wisdom while adding her own warmth. In Awakenings and Malcolm X, she balanced realism with compassion, portraying women whose quiet endurance shaped the people around them. Off-camera, she was known for humility and mentorship, especially among young black actresses who saw her as a guide. When she passed of natural causes in July 2022, at 85, the film and theater worlds mourned together. Mary Alice wasn't just a performer, she was an institution, the calm center in every story she touched. Chance Perdomo, the rising star, gone too soon. Chance Perdomo was on the edge of stardom when fate intervened. Born in Los Angeles and raised in Southampton, England, he built his career on emotional honesty. His breakout role in Killed by My Debt earned him a BAFTA nomination, thanks to a performance so grounded it felt almost documentary. Playing a young man crushed by financial hardship, Chance delivered empathy and pain with startling maturity. Critics called him a once-in-a-generation talent, and they weren't wrong. He gained international recognition through the chilling adventures of Sabrina, where his performance as Ambrose Spellman blended wit, intelligence, and heart. Later, he joined Amazon's superhero series, Gen V, bringing charisma and depth to every scene. Off-set, friends described him as kind, analytical, and endlessly curious about his craft. His future seemed limitless. Then, in March 2024, tragedy struck. A solo motorcycle accident ended his life at just 27. No substances, no reckless story, just devastating chance. His death stunned fans and co-stars alike. For many, Chance Perdomo represented the next great wave of British acting talent. His career was brief, but his impact immediate and unforgettable. Louis Gossett Jr., the first Black Oscar winner for supporting actor, Louis Gossett Jr. spent nearly 7 decades reminding the world what endurance looks like. He made his Broadway debut at 17 and never slowed down. In 1982, he became the first Black man to win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his unforgettable performance as Sergeant Emil Foley in An Officer and a Gentleman. That role, tough, disciplined, but deeply human, turned him into an icon. His voice commanded attention, his presence demanded respect. But Gossett's journey started long before Hollywood recognized him. In the landmark miniseries Roots, he portrayed Fiddler, the enslaved musician whose compassion guided a young Kunta Kinte. That performance earned him an Emmy and forever tied his name to one of television's most powerful cultural moments. He followed it with the Iron Eagle series, proving that Black leads could carry major action franchises too. Off-screen, he spoke about the racism he endured even after his Oscar win, traffic stops, discrimination, closed doors. Yet he kept working, kept mentoring, kept inspiring. In March 2024, at 87, he died of complications from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Louis Gossett Jr. was more than an award winner. He was a trailblazer who turned every barrier into a lesson for those who followed. Hinton Battle, the triple threat of Broadway. Few performers ever embodied the word talent like Hinton Battle. A true triple threat, actor, singer, and dancer, he turned Broadway stages into his personal kingdom. Winning 3 Tony Awards for The Tap Dance Kid, Sophisticated Ladies, and Miss Saigon, Battle set a record that few have matched. Every movement he made had precision, every note had control, and every performance carried joy. Born in Germany and raised in Washington, D.C., Hinton studied at the Jones Haywood School of Ballet and later the School of American Ballet. His early start paid off when he debuted at just 15 as the Scarecrow in The Wiz. From there, he became one of Broadway's most respected figures, known for blending technical excellence with emotional storytelling. His choreography work offstage showed an artist who wanted others to shine as brightly as he once did. In later years, Battle devoted himself to mentoring young performers, helping them navigate the same world he had conquered. When he died in January 2024, after a long illness, tributes poured in from across the theater world, not just for his awards, but for his generosity. Hinton Battle didn't just perform. He passed the rhythm forward to the next generation. Moses J. Mosley, the young talent of The Walking Dead. Moses J. Mosley was one of those faces viewers recognized even when they didn't know his name. On The Walking Dead, he played one of Michonne's chained walkers, a silent, haunting figure who somehow carried both menace and tragedy. His presence on screen said more than dialogue ever could. Behind the makeup and chains was a young actor who approached every project with passion. Born in South Carolina, Moses studied criminal justice before shifting to acting, a bold leap that paid off quickly. He went on to appear in Queen of the South, Watchmen, and The Hunger Games. Catching Fire, showing range far beyond the horror roles that first defined him. Directors praised his focus and intensity, saying he brought professionalism rare for someone so early in their career. But success couldn't shield him from internal struggles. In January 2022, at just 31, he was found dead in Georgia from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The entertainment industry mourned a performer whose potential seemed limitless. Fans remembered him not only for his work, but for his kindness on set. Moses J. Mosley's short career proved that even small roles can leave a lasting mark when played with heart. Carl Weathers. From NFL to Hollywood legend, Carl Weathers was living proof that determination can rewrite destiny. Before Hollywood, he was a linebacker in the NFL, tough, disciplined, and charismatic. Those same traits later turned him into Apollo Creed, one of cinema's most iconic characters. In the Rocky films, Weathers didn't just play a boxer, he defined what an athlete-actor could be. His chemistry with Sylvester Stallone transformed the rivalry between Rocky and Apollo into one of the most enduring friendships in film history. Weathers' success didn't end there. He brought intensity to Predator, standing shoulder to shoulder with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and later revealed impeccable comedic timing in Happy Gilmore. His range bridged genres effortlessly, from gritty action to sharp comedy to the galaxy far, far away. As Greef Karga in The Mandalorian, he reintroduced himself to a new generation of fans, proving that charisma doesn't fade with age. Behind the screen, Weathers was known for professionalism and humility. He spoke openly about the discipline sports taught him and how it shaped his acting career. When he passed in February 2024, at 76 from heart disease, it felt like Hollywood had lost its ultimate competitor, a man who fought his way from the football field to film legend status. Andre Braugher, the mind behind Captain Holt. Andre Braugher didn't need to raise his voice to command attention. His presence alone carried authority. From Homicide, Life on the Street to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he mastered both drama and comedy with intelligence and restraint. His Captain Raymond Holt remains one of television's most iconic leaders, stoic, logical, and quietly hilarious. Braugher turned what could have been a one-note role into a portrait of dignity and subtle rebellion. A graduate of Stanford and Juilliard, Andre approached acting with precision. As Detective Frank Pembleton on Homicide, he won 2 Emmys, redefining what intensity looked like on TV. He was an actor who spoke through pauses, whose silence often said more than dialogue could. Colleagues described him as the smartest person in the room, and somehow the kindest too. When lung cancer took his life in December 2023 at 61, it shocked the industry. He was still filming, still mentoring younger casts, still evolving as a performer. Andre Braugher left behind a body of work built on intellect, empathy, and integrity. He reminded audiences that comedy and gravity can coexist, that the best leaders, on screen and off, lead through quiet strength. Roger E. Mosley, the pilot of Magnum P.I. Roger E. Mosley brought authenticity to a role that might have seemed impossible to fake, a helicopter pilot named T.C. on Magnum P.I. What most fans didn't know was that he was actually licensed to fly. That realism gave the show's high-flying adventures credibility and charm. As T.C., Mosley wasn't just Tom Selleck's sidekick. He was the show's conscience, loyal, funny, and always dependable. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Mosley started acting in the 1970s, appearing in socially charged films like Leadbelly and The Mac. His performances balanced toughness with heart, reflecting the reality of the communities he came from. By the time Magnum P.I. premiered in 1980, Mosley's portrayal of T.C. had made him a household name. Audiences loved the chemistry between him and Selleck, 2 friends navigating danger with humor and mutual respect. Off-screen, Roger was deeply involved in mentoring youth and promoting aviation awareness among Black students. He wanted them to see that flying wasn't just for movie heroes, it was attainable. In August 2022, at 83, he died after a car accident in Linwood, California. His legacy still soars, both as an actor and as the man who made the skies feel a little more human. Subscribe now for more untold stories of the stars who shaped our screens.